Now in this section you'll develop an understanding of how data is inserted into a database and how you can use insert statements. Microsoft SQL gives you a number of different ways to insert new data into your databases. Different insertion tools are available to achieve the end goal of joining data together. Now with inserting data, if you're looking to insert small quantities of data, you can accomplish this in two different ways. You can use the graphical interface tool we've mentioned before, the SSMS, or you can use insert statements. Now let's take a look at how we insert data using the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio tool, or SSMS. And here's a screenshot I wanted to include, and simply when you have the SSMS open, select the table you need, right click on it, and then choose Edit Top 200 Rows. Once you do this, you'll then be able to enter your data into the last row of the table that you'll see, and this will be considered new data. So once you edit Top 200 Rows, you select that by left clicking on it. You can then enter your data into the last row of the table for that data to be considered new, because you've now inserted new physical data into that. Now the last row of the table, you can easily identify that because it will have the value null in each of the columns. So just find the table, right click on it, select Edit Top 200 from your options menu, and then you can go in and start putting in new data. Now let's look at the SQL insert statement that you would use in the editor. You can insert into, give me the table name and the columns, and then what values do you want into those areas. So looking at our example here, insert into table employee, these columns, first name, last name, employee ID, and department, these values, David, Clark, 610008, shipping, comma, this will be another record, Arnold, Davis, 61009, accounting. And that data matches up with what we put in our insert into statement. If we look at our insert into in our value statement, first name, we have David, and we have a single quote around those to define the type of data that this is text. Last name, Clark, we have a comma, then employee ID. Our employee ID for David Clark is 610008. And then lastly, department, the department he is in shipping. And then we have a second record that follows that same set of rules. So therefore, this insert statement adds two new employees into our employee table. Now it's key to note that you are not limited to inserting only one row at a time with the insert statement. Instead, you can indicate multiple rows using a comma to separate them. Now this is similar to commas used in Excel.csv files, or CSV files, sorry, that separate columns of information imported for use in another database program such as Microsoft Access. SQL will automatically assume your list of values includes all columns in the correct order as they should be in your table. Now we're going to talk about updating data in databases. The update clause here is where we're going to start at, or the update statement. Now the function of the update statement is to change data in a table or in a view. Much like any of the other data manipulation or modification clauses and statements within SQL, you can use this statement in either the SSMS tool or in a text editor window. So you see in our update statement here, we have the following syntax: update, give what table name you want to update, set what attributes to what you want them to be, and if there are any conditions that need to be met. Let's take a look at an update example now. So if we were working with the table, let's say we wanted to first put this information in and then we would work with it. We've talked about this in previous examples from your text, and we didn't have a value set, a department ID set for Doug Abel. So we're going to use this statement, insert into the department table the following information: Doug is the first name, Abel is the last name, and we're assigning the number 4 as the department ID. Once that information is in your table, if you're practicing this, or if you can just imagine this, now we want to use our update statement. Now remember, the update clause allows you to modify the data which is stored in the tables using our data attributes. So now in our employee table, we want to set the department equal to 4 wherever any department fields are null. So let's take a look at that. We first added a record in the department table with our new supervisor's name and department ID using our insert statement up above. Then we updated our employee table to reflect any employees who do not have an assigned department supervisor. That's why we used our update statement. Anywhere in our employment or in our employee table where the department did not have a value assigned to it, we are now assigning a value of 4 in those fields. Well, now that we've talked about how to insert data, update data, let's talk about the removal of data, or better known as deleting data. Now, all database administrators must understand how to delete data from single or multiple tables, as well as how to ensure data and referential integrity by using transactions. There are several different ways to remove rows from a table or a view. You can identify and delete individual rows from the database using the delete syntax. Delete all the rows using a truncate table statement, or remove the entire table using the drop table statement. Which method you choose depends entirely on your needs or the amount of data that you need to remove from your database. First, let's take a look at the delete statement. As you recall, the delete statement can remove one or more rows in a table or view. And here is the SQL statement that we will use. We're going to delete from, give it a table name, where whatever conditions need to be met. That is the syntax that you will use for a basic delete statement. Delete from, where, these conditions. Here's an example that we'll look at. Delete from the employee table all information where the department is equal to shipping. So anywhere in our employee table where the department fields have the value of shipping in them, those rows of data will be deleted. Simple enough, does exactly what we would expect. Now let's take a look at the truncate statement. Now to delete all the rows from a particular table using the truncate table statement, the delete and where condition technique would produce the same output, but it could take a great deal of time if you're deleting rows from very large databases. The truncate table statement removes the actual data from within the table, but it leaves the table structure in place for any type of future use. Now perhaps you want to delete an entire table because it's it's obsolete. Maybe it contains too much data to move around anymore, or you've just got some other reason that you need to delete an entire table. This is where you're going to use the drop table statement. So just taking a step back, once again, you'll use the truncate table statement if you want to delete all the rows but keep the table structure in place. And you use the drop table statement to get rid of the entire table altogether. Now, as a database administrator, one of the key elements you need to do is make sure the integrity of your database. And sometimes you may need to, or it's best to allow any type of mistakes, of accidental loss of data, especially of entire tables. So the best way to do that is, and avoid that type of situation, is ensure your database is using what we call referential integrity. Now, referential integrity does not allow deletion of tables unless all of the related tables are deleted using a cascading delete. So when these relationships amongst tables exist, Referential integrity will not allow you to delete a table unless there are no relationships involved. So if someone's trying to delete a table and there's a relationship that exists, that is kind of like a red flag that goes up. Oh, I need to look at this other table to see if there's a reason for the relationship of these two tables and that they need each other. Now this brings us to another best practice method, and that's using transactions when you're updating data. Data is most commonly deleted, truncated, or accidentally updated during regular maintenance tasks, and one of the best ways to keep this from occurring is to use transactions when updating data. Inserting a simple begin tran before an actual SQL statement is a good place to start, and if you have executed everything correctly, a commit statement is used from SQL to force those changes. Now, if there is an error in any of the statements, a rollback can be issued from SQL to undo those changes. So we'll take a look at the sample transaction statement here. The syntax for that is the beginning of your statement, you'd put the words begin tran. And then you could use your delete statement, delete from, and then whatever table you're using. Now what happens at this juncture is that you would verify that what you did really did happen, and then issue a commit statement to save those changes, or else issue a rollback to undo them. Many times mistakes occur through simple errors, and if you use the begin tran in a commit or a rollback while performing maintenance tasks, you will generally catch most accidents before they happen in your database and as you as a database administrator. Well guys, that is it for our lesson 3 over manipulating data. Thank you for joining along. I hope you get a lot of practice with this information and you tie it back to the chapter and continue to use the W3 Schools website or other avenues for practicing this information, as it will prepare you for your database administration fundamentals exam, the MTA 98-364, as well as just being good database administrators. Thank you for joining along, and I hope to see you in the next lesson.